RingCentral's AI receptionist uses voice AI to answer on the first ring, so you'll never miss a call again. In just a few minutes, you can personalize your own AI receptionist to answer questions, route calls, schedule appointments, and even send texts in multiple languages. Plus, it's easy to scale. Create unlimited AI receptionists across any phone system. It's all powered by one reliable platform for effortless AI communications. See for yourself at ringcentral.com. RingCentral, voice of your business.
That's the plan.
All right. And away we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome into today's edition of the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I am Jacob Milham. We are starting this just a few seconds, I would say, after the final out between the Minnesota Twins and the Kansas City Royals. The Twins pull a Royals-esque escape and narrowly avoid the sweep, but we have more things to talk about. Of course, Jeremy Greco is on one end of the horn, and lo and behold, Jeremy, can you introduce our guest?
I suppose I can do that.
Please do.
We have the one, the only, the managing editor of Royals Review, Max Rieper.
That's close to the excitement that Mason Miller's entrance music. I don't know if you've seen his coming out of the bullpen to Corn.
Yes.
that was pretty hype though. That was up there with Mason Miller.
Yeah, let's go.
Jacob loves it. We were talking about it last week. I still haven't. He sent me a good quality video, and I haven't actually clicked it yet. I got to do that.
Well, sometimes it feels like going through the TikToks that Jeremy sends me is like, ooh, I haven't done that in a couple of days. I should do that. It's just how it goes sometimes when you share links back and forth. But yeah, thank you so much, Max, for joining us today. Genuinely, if this is your first time listening to the Royals Rundown podcast, this is something that we try to do during the season. We try to have more folks from Royals Review come on and join us. So, you know, you might hear from Max, you might hear from Matt, you might hear from a few of the other great members of that team. So please make sure you subscribe or follow wherever you're listening to us at. And yeah, fellas, listen, we went into this. We're going to talk about the series. And I will say that if we agreed to record this, you know, about the midway point of Wednesday night's game, it would be a very different sounding episode, I would say. The Royals were cruising to that victory there, and, you know, the bullpen let things slide, and then the bullpen let things slide even further on Thursday, I would say. Max, this is, I want to start with you. This is our first Royals home series of 2026. What are some of your takeaways? What are some of the things that you saw that you think other Royals fans should have noticed?
Well, with all this being the caveat, it's early, right? But I think, yeah, the first thing you have to notice about the season is the bullpen. Like, I'm a big JJ Picollo fan, but is that maybe his Achilles heel? Like, you know, 2 years ago when he brought in Will Smith and Chris Stratton and Nick Anderson, and those guys fell flat on their face. You know, he turned it around 2024, I should say. 2023 is when they brought those guys in. It was 2024 and the beginning of the season. And those guys fell flat on their face and they turned it around. You know, it's early, and I still believe in a lot of the guys he has out there. Like, you know, obviously Lucas Erceg is really good. I think Nick Mears, is going to be a really valuable weapon out there. Matt Strahm was a great pickup, but the back of that bullpen looks pretty dicey right now. You know, Daniel Lynch had a great first outing, not so good last night, like you mentioned. Alex Lang certainly didn't pitch very well yesterday. And then today, Steven Cruz, who I imagine is on his way back to Omaha, certainly didn't impress anyone. So that's probably the number one. And then the way they handled, I know you guys talked about this before, Carlos Estevez. You know, hopefully that's just a temporary blip and they get better performance out of him when he comes back from the injured list. But certainly that's one game they pretty much gave away because he wasn't up to pitching for the year.
Jeremy, what about you?
You know, I'm gonna come in on the other side of this argument and say I think the bullpen, I nothing I saw last night after the fifth inning is real as far as I'm concerned, performance-wise. There was just so much bad weather, and the mound was just obviously awful. The field was obviously awful. When I look at Alex Lang and I say your first appearance was really good, your second appearance not so much. Daniel in rain, same for Daniel Lynch, same for Bailey Falter, and Nick Mears still looked really good. Lucas Urseg and Matt Strom have all three looked really good along with Nick Mears, because that's how that all worked in my brain somehow. I'm not super concerned about the bullpen. I'm a little concerned because we were very excited about Steven Cruz, and he was serving up a little batting practice today, and I don't think he could blame the weather for that. Though the clouds are coming in, air pressure does weird things when it's about to start raining. Maybe he could blame it, but yeah, I do think he's on his way to Omaha. We were seeing some rumors that Luinder Avila was getting the call after today's game, so it's either Cruz or Lynch, unless someone else is going on the IL, and I haven't seen anything that suggests to me that someone is. Cruz has pitched 2 games in a row. Even if he hadn't pitched poorly today, he would be the guy that makes the most sense to go down. Avila, a lot of people very excited about him. I think I'm a little bit more tempered than some other people about him, but I'm also excited. So I'm not concerned about the bullpen. Long road to that short thought.
Fair enough. So, hey, as we're talking about Cruz, so yeah, if we had started this podcast even, a couple innings ago, I would be all for keeping Steven Cruz over Avila. Like, I would rather have him stretched out, but, Cruz came in, gave up 3 solo home runs at the top of the ninth and really buried the Royals, any comeback chances they had at that moment. And I did put out an all call for questions. This isn't a mailbag episode, but I do want to sprinkle in, answer some of these questions as we get them. I bring that up because from Cade on Blue Sky, they asked, do you think Steven Cruz stays up when Estevez comes back from the IL? Earlier on today, I would have said yes, but then Avila's rumors came out. We saw his performance today. And it looks like Cruz is already going to be in Omaha by the time Estevez comes back. But, 2 weeks is a long time when you look at pitching rest and things like that.
And we don't even know if Estevez is immediately coming back in 2 weeks. It's really hard to predict who will be on the roster, who won't be, injuries, lack of performance, whatever, when Estevez is ready to pitch again.
Exactly. And Max, I want to loop that in because last time we spoke, Estevez had not been put on the IL yet. But since we last spoke, it has become official. Carlos Estevez, last year's MLB saves leader, is on the 15-day IL thanks to that comebacker that he took off of his foot. But even MLB.com's Andy Rogers put out, like, this is partially to get his timing back, to get some of that velocity back and things like that. Max, I don't take this word for word from me, but I'm kind of relieved to see him on the IL. Are you?
I know you don't like to see guys get hurt, but it's like, if it wasn't for the comebacker, like, it seems like that was going to be a phantom IL placement anyway. He was in a walking boot. It's an ankle contusion, and he was in a walking boot for like a day or two. Matthew Lamar was in the clubhouse on, was it Monday? No, Tuesday. No, Wednesday, I should say. And he said Estevez didn't have a walking boot on anymore. So I mean, I'm sure there are legitimate concerns about his ankle, but I think this is obviously to try to get him some more time to ramp up and get his arm right. And I don't, he did spend some time away from the team for the World Baseball Classic, and I don't think the Dominican Republic used him that much in the bullpen. So perhaps he just needs some time to kind of get that velo back. Whether that takes 2 weeks or that takes a month or more, we'll have to see. But yeah, I don't think Royals fans are too upset. It's kind of like, hey, take your time. But I mean, if the bullpen does have issues, I think the Royals are going to feel pressure to kind of bring him back if they feel like he can help at all. So we'll have to see how they handle that situation.
Hey, Jeremy, do you have anything to add on Estevez before I ask you a question?
I think I guess I'll add real quick that I said last time that I understood Matt Quatrero giving him that one chance to close out a game, even though his stuff wasn't there yet. And I've thought about it some more, and I still believe that. But I do agree with people like Craig Brown and David Lesky who said that they also understood it to a degree, but they really think someone should have been warming up behind Estevez. And I think that's that's true. There's really no reason Estevez should have faced more than 4 batters. Honestly, I think you could have justified having someone up just say, if everything goes fine, you're like, oh, he was just throwing to get some pitches in because we've had a few days since spring training, and blah blah blah. You have Nick Mears or Alex Lang up. Even immediately starting the 9th inning, and then if you need him, well, he's warm. So I think you could have done that, but they didn't, and I still don't think it's the end of the world. I don't think that Matt Quatraro made a terrible mistake. I don't think it's the end of the world that the Royals lost that game. They're 500 after 6 games. I mean, you could be in a better place. Sure, you'd love to be 4-2, 5-1, even 6-0, but yeah, we're everything's fine. We're a week into the season and everything's fine. No need to panic yet.
Yes, absolutely, folks. 159-3 is absolutely still in play, so please don't freak out. Okay, we could still get there. At least that's how some of the comment sections on RoyalsReview.com would make it sound. Speaking of bullpen relief, Jeremy, I'm going to make you answer this question first. So from Taco on Blue Sky, they asked, should the Royals use Cags in relief to add to the bullpen depth? Jeremy, is this the move for manager Matt Quatraro?
No. Cags, one of the best parts of last night's game was that Cags had 3 hits all over 100 miles per hour, including one where he was incredibly off balance reaching and he still got it over 100 miles an hour for a single. I need that guy just focused on hitting. Talk to me if Cags establishes himself as an elite hitter. You could talk to me in a couple of years about what if we added some bullpen outings to Cags just to squeeze even more value out of him, and then I'll have that conversation with you. But let's let him get his hitting legs under him first.
Max, do you concur?
Yeah. Let's get him to be as good of a bat as Kyle Isbel, because they could use a guy like that in the lineup.
Kevin Rupert asked about that. Is Kyle Isbel an MVP candidate? And he's certainly playing like one through the first 6 games of the season.
Isbel 40-40 season. Let's go,
man. I'll take it. Well,
I mean, the great thing is Isbel doesn't have to be even league average to be extremely valuable if he can hit a little bit better than he has. I mean, he's been I think he's a little bit polarizing, I think, among the Royals fan base, in that I think he's valuable because of his defense, and if he doesn't hit, that's okay. And you wouldn't notice it so much if they had a better lineup around him. But if he can become, like a 90 WRC hitter, WRC plus hitter with his kind of defense, I mean, that's like a 3-win player. And that'd be super valuable in that outfield. So, I mean, I'm not expecting him to hit 600 all season, but if he can lift that average a little bit, show a little bit of pop. We had our first new fence home run.
Yeah.
So that was not a home run last year from Isbel, but that was nice to see. And if he can get going a little bit, I mean, that'd be great. I mean, we'll take anything we can from Isbel at this point with the bat.
Yeah. Last night, watching that first rally, it was just like, this is what the Royals were kind of envisioning to start the year, is the bottom of the order can get on base, and then that gets you to the top of the order where Michael and Bobby and Vinny can drive them in. Just keep the innings going sometimes. We're still waiting, honestly, for Bobby and Vinny to really start hitting. At least Vinny's taken a few walks. Michael has been out there just taking all kinds of pitches, taking all kinds of walks. He looks like an absolute menace at the top of the lineup right now. I would be it's a very different feeling from last year when Kyle Isbel does get on, to see the leadoff hitter come up to the plate instead of Jonathan India and going, well, gosh, I hope he doesn't hit into a double play and gives Bobby a chance. It's like, okay, let's see what Garcia can do for us. Maybe he drives in the run. I feel pretty confident he'll at least get on base and give Bobby a chance instead of just, crossing my fingers that he's not going to hit into the double play. Of course, exactly. Bobby needs to start hitting too, but he'll get there. I'm not worried about him very much.
Yeah,
So
he's been
yeah,
smoking the ball pretty hard, and his expected batting average going into today was 405, and he's still gonna be valuable with his
Whew.
legs. I mean, he's tagging the ball. It's just not finding a hole right now. Which a week into the year you're gonna have some of that. So I'm not concerned about Bobby at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. So hey, I'm not worried about Bobby. One guy that I am kind of worried about, despite his defensive showing today, is Lane Thomas. Like we haven't seen a whole lot from him at the plate, and from a prospect or from a prospect's look at it. Sorry, that was a weird tongue twister for me. I'm not loving the process so far. Whether it's versus righties, whether it's versus lefties, I'm not seeing that, and I'm worried that this is another Randall Grichuk situation where on paper it looks great. He has a solid role and it's a bad outfield, but lo and behold, Lane Thomas is not helping early on. Max, are you worried about the veteran at all?
Yeah, because he's just a guy that hasn't really done much over the last 2 years. And I think it's a fine low risk gamble to see, hey, let's mark off his performance the last 2 years due to injuries, and hopefully he's got something left in the tank that can, reach that talent that allowed him to hit 28 home runs a couple years ago. But yeah, certainly not much in his approach. I think, looking at the way the hitters have approached the plate in the first week. I know it's a small sample size, but it does seem like they've been a little more patient. I don't see that out of Lane Thomas so much, and he's never really been that kind of hitter. And so he could be kind of the odd man out. I think hopefully someone pushes him out of a position, and hopefully that guy's like Isaac Collins, and we're not seeing so much of Lane Thomas as the season goes on. But again, it's early. I'm sure they're going to give him some leash. But bringing in Starling Marte perhaps gives them some other options. Who I'm a little surprised they haven't played him more. Certainly haven't seen him
Okay.
very much other than opening day. And I know he's a defensive liability, but yeah, Lane Thomas is certainly not in a position where he can really afford to have a really terrible April and hope to still have a job by midsummer.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And something along those lines is, on the feed, I always say feed the feed, folks, on royalsreview.com. That's the thing you got to do. As I make Jeremy gag off screen because he's tired of me plugging this like pseudo social media thing that we got on the website now. But I put out a plug like, hey, if you have any questions, drop them in. And Rocketman39, don't know the name beyond that, had a war question which Lane Thomas brings to mind. So they asked, and I want to start with Jeremy here. Who do you think would put up more war for the Royals? Any singular position player not currently in the starting nine, so like Starling Marte, Nick Lofton, Tyler Tolbert, Lane Thomas, or the theoretical deadline bat? Oh, like this makes me think of 2025, right? Like Mike Yastrzemski alone was one of the most valuable Royals outfielders after joining the team, even though he was only here for X amount of games. He crushed it, and that's all that mattered. Jeremy, what do you think? Do you think the Royals are going to find someone to turn it around on the bench, or are they going to find another trade deadline win?
I think it's probably going to have to be a trade deadline win. Like we've been talking about, Lane Thomas has not looked very good. The big thing he was bringing to the lineup was that he hadn't been chasing balls, and he's still not chasing them at a crazy rate, but he's chasing them more than he was. He's not hitting it hard when he's hitting it. Starling Marte was a late, he was signed in the middle of spring training. And as Max said, we've only seen him once. I have concerns about whether he's actually regular season ready. And if he's not getting into games, I'm not sure how he's going to get regular season ready. And I'm also not sure, okay, great, you've got him as a pinch hitter on the bench. Who's he supposed to be pinch hitting for? Are you going to pinch hit him for Cags? Cags has looked pretty good. You going to pinch hit him for Carter? I mean, he's not having a lot of success, but he's not having bad at bats. You gonna pinch hit him for India? Is he better than India? India hit the grand slam last night. I'm not really. This was I'm back on my original take of Starling Marte of like, what is he supposed to do for this team right now? I weaved into, okay, well, he could be a right-handed bat off the bench, but who's he supposed to pinch hit for? So I think it is going to probably have to be a deadline acquisition, and I'm not really sure that a deadline acquisition, I mean, right this moment with the tiny sample sizes that we've got, Isaac Hollins looks good. Kyle Isbel looks good. Uh, Jac Caglianone looks good. I guess you could look for a second baseman because honestly, outside of the Grand Slam, Jonathan India has not looked good. He's had a lot of pop-ups when he's made contact with the ball, and I felt like he's looked really passive at the plate. He got an RBI single last night that went much higher than it did forward on a pop-up that Royce Lewis just couldn't find because of the terrible weather. So maybe they look for that second baseman. Maybe was it Luis Garcia that everyone was thinking the Royals might try and get from the Nationals? Am I getting that right, or is that was it C.J. Abrams? Maybe was who I was thinking of. I always
Yeah, they did toss that out there this offseason. I totally forgot about that because it was an outlandish trade idea at the time.
Yeah. Maybe Brett Beatty becomes available or another infielder. Carson Benj is playing in the Mets outfield. Looks pretty good. They've got Polanco, they've got Bichette, they've got Marcus Semien.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll be like, hey, we could use a pitcher, and the Royals can part with hopefully not Bubich. But maybe that's Stephen Kolek or Bailey Falter goes to the Mets along with something else. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I would have to think that of the guys the Royals have on the bench, the way they've looked and has fit the fears that we have. So it's not like they're doing things in a weird way where we're like, no, it'll be fine. It's like, well, that was what we were afraid of and was the downside there.
I think it's a really good point about Marte. Like they had an opportunity. If you're going to pinch hit for Caglianone, like there was an opportunity in the 8th inning today where he was facing a tough lefty in Taylor Rogers, and Caglianone, he has had reverse splits, I think, last year in the minors and in his majors. He didn't really hit anyone in the majors, but so I can understand keeping him in against a lefty, and you want him to learn to hit lefties. So maybe that's kind of with the long term in mind. But like if Marte is not here to hit in those situations, when he's going to get? Because I don't know, when exactly you put him in for these games. So, and then another thing you have to remember, Michael Massey is probably going to come back at some point. Another guy they're going to have on the bench. And so if you are talking about second baseman, like that would probably, they at least give him a chance, I think, before they go to some outside acquisition. But I do think here's a bold prediction. One is Starling Marte or Lane Thomas will not be on the roster by July. I think the Royals, one of them will clearly establish themselves as not being major league ready anymore, major league level anymore, and the Royals will either they'll probably have to look for another option outside and look to acquire someone at the trade deadline.
And they're kind of, I mean, they kind of fill the same role on the team, and the Royals are giving preference to Lane Thomas right now because he's got better defense, as he showed today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. I will also say I'd forgotten about Michael Massey. So if someone was currently on the team, not in the starting lineup, was going to outwar a trade deadline acquisition, it would be Michael Massey, would be my bet.
I agree. And he looked solid in his first Omaha appearance on Tuesday, going 2 for 4 with a home run in that very, very cold climate up north. You thought that Kaufman was bad with all that rain. They were all bundled up just trying to play baseball out there. But he's getting it sounds like he's going to be playing again on Thursday today, so we'll see how he does. And Andy Rogers says that the Royals want to make sure he can be 100% running wise on the bases and in the field, which makes sense because, if you're not going to bring it with the bat, you got to bring it with your versatility and with some speed. So we'll see what happens there.
Tolbert or Lofton, who goes down? That's my question for both of you.
I think Tolbert goes down.
Immediately get different answers for both of you. I love it.
And here's the thing, Max. You can say if you agree, if you disagree with this. I don't know if I'm passionate enough about either way in this decision, right? Like, okay, if Lofton goes down and Tolbert stays up, like, okay, that makes sense. If Lofton goes up and Tolbert goes down, okay, well, that makes sense. Like, either way makes sense to me. I just know it's going to be one of those two. Like, we have that established.
They could. It would be wild, but they could just cut Starling Marte.
I mean, if he's not game
If they've
ready,
already decided he's not going to play.
maybe that'd be pretty wacky though if they did that. I will say. All right, so we talked about Caglianone a little bit earlier on, and yes, I know we talked about the bullpen stuff. That's not happening, folks. Just he talked about it plenty this offseason. But Rockman did have another question about Cags having multiple multi-hit games, and we're a week into the season. He had a 3-hit game against the Twins on Wednesday night. That was a really impressive outing, like we said. His defense also looks more and more comfortable as he actually gets time out and right, which I will also say that his athleticism is starting to really show. Starting to get some good reads on balls. It's nice. Oh, Rocketman has another WAR question. What would be a good WAR guess for him after 5 games? So I'm going to put you on the spot here first. If you had to guesstimate his end of season WAR, what would you say? Is it going to be another negative point or negative 1 point something?
I'm going to say that I just looked at Jack's Baseball Savant page, and the defensive stats there are not lining up with my eye test. They say he has the worst range ever.
Whoa.
And not a good arm either. Which he's got a strong arm, but it's not been accurate in the outfield so far. So I'd like to see him increase the accuracy a little bit. But I think he could, if he reaches my prediction of 35 home runs and he keeps hitting the singles and doubles like he's been hitting, I think he could be a 3 or 4 WAR guy. Probably closer to 3 if the defense metrics continue to hate him.
Yeah.
But if the defense ticks up a little bit, 4 or 5 would not be out of the question.
No, absolutely not. And that is, like that's I think of Salvi from last year, right? 30 home runs, 100 RBI, 0.5 FR on the season. Like, it's some of these defensive systems just don't like some guys and how they perform.
They hate Vinny too. And I watch Vinny at first and I'm like, dude is scooping everything. I haven't seen him do much this year as far as fielding the ball.
Yeah.
But I also feel like he's.
What would you do if your online store converted 36% more shoppers? You could take 36% more vacation.
Another pina colada? Yes, please.
Open a new retail location with 36% more square feet.
Fantastic.
Hire 36% more help.
You're hired and you're hired.
Shopify has the world's best converting checkout, up to 36% better than other e-commerce platforms. What you do with those extra sales is up to you. Switch to Shopify today at shopify.com/listen and get a $1 trial. Shopify.com/listen.
Better than average at fielding a grounder and throwing to first or throwing to second to try and start that double play.
Welcome back to the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I am Jacob Milham. Thankfully, we have Max back from a little bit of technical difficulties there. That is A-okay. But one thing that has not had any difficulties so far this season is the Kansas City Royals starting rotation. And today was another example of that. I got to pull up the numbers here just to make sure I have them right. But yeah, so the Royals starting pitchers through the first 6 games, only 6 earned runs in 33 and a third innings. That's good for a 1.62 ERA, which ranks second in the majors to only the Yankees, who are on an absolute tear, 0.53 ERA from that stat. Cole Reagan's had another, or I wouldn't say another great outing, but another entry into the great run from the Royals starters. Didn't have an earned run allowed today, did end up catching the loss because of an unearned run, but struck out 8, gave up 6 hits. I thought it was a very good bounce back game from Cole Reagan's. Max, it hasn't looked dominant at points from the Royals starters, but you have to feel good about it, right?
Yeah, and I think we knew this was going to be the strength of the team. I think what's most encouraging is Seth Lugo has really looked, has bounced back and looks really effective. He's the one, just the way he really collapsed in the second half last year, I thought maybe that was going to be something that would carry over into this year, but he looked really solid in his first start. Reagan's, it was nice to see him bounce back. It wasn't, I don't think, of the crispest outing you've ever seen. Like, I know he was nibbling a lot. He got that pitch count up pretty high, but he was able to go 6 innings. It seems like he really overcame a little bit of a little bit of adversity in the middle there when the mound, like they needed to work on the mound. But ultimately gave him 6 strong innings. Again, like you said, no earned runs. Only run came from that Salvi throw that he should have kept in his back pocket. Yeah, you like that. That's what you want out of your ace. You need that kind of performance. The pitching is going to be great this year. I think we feel pretty strongly about that. And that's nice to see that kind of them living up to that expectation.
Yeah, Jeremy, but before I get your thoughts on this, some more numbers for Cole Reagan. So he's had 5 starts now since he returned from the IL last September, a 3.13 ERA, and has struck out 39.3% of the batters he has faced in that span. I think that's pretty good, right, Jeremy?
I mean, if it was 40%, I think I could agree with you, but
rounding error.
39.3%. Come on, Cole. Just 2 out of every 5 batters he faces, he strikes out.
That's
Are
pretty
you kidding
insane.
me?
Yeah, that's wild.
And I was posting through this a little bit as I was watching the game. Cole Reagan's is affected by the state of the mound more than any starting pitcher I can think of ever. But boy, when the mound and he are getting along, because after he got them to fix the mound, the Twins didn't have anything for him for the rest of the game. Golly, and this is 5 straight starts now that are quality starts, except for Noah Cameron, who only got to go 5 last night because the weather was ridiculous. I feel I thought the rotation would be a strength, but we talked about this a little bit on Sunday that Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo looked like their 2024 versions, even more than their 2025 versions. Noah Cameron, at least for the first 4 innings, looked like he was picking up exactly where he left off last year. Chris Bubich had a little bit of trouble with the strike zone in his first start at the beginning of it, but by the end he was looking really good. Same for Cole Reagan's today. Man, that rotation looks tough. If I was rooting for another team, I would not be happy about facing the Royals at all because of that rotation right now. And then you never know when Jack is going to get into one, and the top of the lineup still looks really good. I mean, the numbers aren't there, but the swings are, as we've kind of already talked about. I don't know, man. The starting, and Ryan Berger, who looked really good last year, is in Omaha. So somebody
he's doing really good.
Gets hurt. You call up Ryan Berger, who would be in like 28 other rotations or something crazy like that. Maybe not New York's rotation, but almost anybody else's.
Exactly.
Do we think that's the best use for him, though? Like, I understand the reasoning that you want a starter stretched out, ready to go if someone goes down, and they've got Berger and Kolek and Avila, who all could probably pitch in a big. If you were to ask who are the 13 best pitchers in the Royals organization, I think all 3 or at least 2 of them would be on that list, but they're not there because of options for some of the guys that made the team. They don't have any in inventory, and B, they want to keep those guys stretched out in Omaha. But I don't know, like, this is a team that has expectations to win a division or make the playoffs. Every game matters. And if you don't have one of your best pitchers because inventory, and I know JJ's got to look long-term and short-term, but like I said, every game matters. And if they lose a game because Bergert's not here, but Steven Cruz is, or Bailey Falter is, I don't know. Is that the best way to handle a team that has contention aspiration?
I guess
I will say, go ahead, Jeremy. Go ahead. Okay. So what I will say is, that's the tough part that JJ is in. He does have to look at the short term and at the long term. My short term brain says, yeah, sure, this bullpen would look a lot better if it had Kolek and Berger in it, and I think that we can all agree on that. However, this team might be scarred a little bit from its injury issues last year. That's why they had to go out and get guys like Kolek and Berger and Falter, because it was a need. We had Dick Mountain starting games for us in 2025. Okay, we need to keep that inventory of starters up. And I'm not a coach. I don't know how each player can get easily stretched out or go back and forth between roles and things like that. but I think they are being a little conservative right now because of what happened last year. Jeremy, over to you.
I heard a lot of similar arguments when Luinder Avila didn't make the opening day roster. A week later, Avila's up here in the bullpen, right? So I think the Royals are I would expect that if we see injuries or we see the bullpen continue to get worn out like it was last night, that I 100% believe that Bergert could get called up as a reliever. Daniel Lynch could get demoted and you call up Bergert. I think that the Royals are having him stretched out in the minor leagues because that kind of fits. And I will continue to say that I haven't seen any of the relievers. I've seen all of the relievers already have at least one good game that I thought they looked really good in. Even Bailey Falter and Alex Lang, I thought looked really good in their first outings. And I know Falter gave up a couple runs, but I think as a reliever, I really like him in 2-inning bursts, and they had him go that third inning. So I look at that third inning and I go, yes, that was Bailey Falter. But also, if I was really trying to use Bailey Falter to his maximum potential, I would throw him for 2 innings, and then I would feel really good about those 2 innings. So when I look at Bergert being in the minor leagues as opposed to being in the bullpen, I'm like, yeah, he would be really good in the bullpen, but I think the guys they've got are fine too, and you can't have everybody in the bullpen. Somebody's got to pitch in the minor leagues. You don't have enough roster spots. But I also think that it probably won't be long before we do see Bergert, whether it's in the rotation for somebody who's injured or in the bullpen because they need arms. After Cruz has been up, he can't. If they demote him, he can't come back up for another 10 days. If you need another bullpen arm in the next 10 days, it's probably Bergert.
Yeah, probably so. Max, anything else on that?
No, I mean, I understand what they're doing, but like Jeremy says, they are being pretty conservative. I understand you don't want to pitch Rich Hill out there but like they did get Mitch Spence, they got Mason Black, Ben Kuderna is going to pitch at AAA. He's a fairly well thought of prospect as far as Royals prospects. I mean, there are guys you can turn to. You don't have to pick up 45-year-old dudes off the street. So like, if Bergert, I think, is better as an option than Bailey Falter or, some of the other guys they have in there that maybe have options, I don't think I would hesitate to go with one of those guys by like the end of the month. But we'll see. The good thing is they have options, they have flexibility. I think that's by design, and that's smart to do.
And I think like I look at Alex Lang and I'm like, if he continues to not find the strike zone when it's not pouring rain, they aren't paying him very much. They can move on from him very easily, and they showed in the past that they're willing to do that with.
I think he has an option
guys.
still. Doesn't he have an option?
Well, we thought he had an option, but it looks like he doesn't.
Okay.
So I think they could cut him pretty easily, and they did that with Nick Anderson. They did that with. I guess they did never cut Will Smith, but they dropped him down the depth chart pretty quickly, and they were paying him a lot more. So they're paying Lang less than $1 million, so he's pretty easy to walk away from, even for the Royals, I think, if things aren't working after a month.
Yeah, and just to confirm, Lang he has used all 3 of his option years. So just because I remember that, Jeremy, earlier on when they signed him, I could have swore that he had an option. Like that's what everyone was reporting, but it doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, I think Fangraphs had him as having an option left and then found out he didn't for some reason.
Yeah. It happens. It does.
It's hard to track that stuff.
It is. Hey, a couple of social media tidbits to put out there. Jake Eisenberg of the Royals Radio Network shared a great story from Trevor Vance. He said that last night Jac Caglianone asked one of the grounds crew members how many were on the crew, and it was about 20 folks. This morning, Cags brought in 3 dozen donuts and coffee for them as a thank you for their hard work. And they did a lot of hard work Wednesday night. They were going through it. I am so surprised that they got in a full game. I really am. I think that's a testament to that grounds crew.
But
probably shouldn't have.
And Royce Lewis didn't want to play, that's for sure.
No, he did not. That was not a good look for him. Fortunately, a Royals player did not have a good look today, according to Joel Goldberg, who gave us a reason for why Carter Jensen was scratched. So he's saying that Carter Jensen was scratched due to what Matt Quatrero said was a, quote, oversight. And Goldberg said he overslept. He came in to catch the 9th inning after Salvi was pinch run for in the bottom of the 8th, but sounds like the young Royals rookie missed a couple of alarms and was late to Kauffman Stadium today. It happens.
You can do that once.
Yeah.
Really not good when your catcher does that, because if Salvi gets hurt, like, what do you do?
Well, we were all like, he got scratched, but people saw him catching warm-up pitches between innings, and everyone was trying to figure out what was going on. I wondered if it was some kind of rule violation. If it's oversleeping, that's a lot less concerning to me than a lot of other rule violations he could have performed. So still not great, obviously, but we've all, I think, slept through our alarms before. I know I have. I'll throw myself on that grenade.
I have too many times to count, unfortunately.
And last night, if there was a night to sleep through your alarm after playing through a baseball game, last night's game was one to do it from.
Yeah, didn't Annie Rogers say that was the longest Royals game of the pitch clock era? Like, that was
she might have it. I believe it for sure.
Yeah.
That was a slog of a game. No matter how much of a roller coaster it was. One of the things that was a bit of a roller coaster in that Wednesday night game was, ABS was in full effect in that game.
Gosh.
So many challenges in that game. And Salvi was on full effect. I gotta plug the T-shirt that I saw on RoyalsReview.com, because I think it's great. Salvi's been great at the ABS so far. He's been awesome at it, much better than I expected, and I had high expectations for him. So go check out that T-shirt.
You want to tell everyone what it
Always
says?
believe Salvi.
Always believe Salvi. Yeah, sorry.
ABS. Always believe Salvi.
Yes. Which I don't know where he's at right now as we're recording, but he's still one of the best catchers in the game by a good margin.
5 for 7. Don't quote me on that. I mean,
and I think the Twins are the most successful team in challenges so far.
They've done the most challenges by a lot.
Yeah.
They said during the game that they'd made 24 challenges, which was 8 more than any other team at that time, and I think they made a couple more after that.
There you go.
But based on the fact that they got almost every challenge they made last night overturned, no wonder they're making all those challenges. I said Sunday, I think the Royals should be a little bit more aggressive in making challenges, and they have been, I think, since that game, a little bit more aggressive. I think they could stand to be more aggressive, but also last night, I think, was also an example of, and not to shoot myself in the foot here, because I'm writing an article with Matthew Lamar where we're going to argue about the ABS, and I was very pro ABS on Sunday. That was an example of how the ABS can be bad for the experience of watching a game. Is like, how many challenges do we have to watch? But also, they were right a lot of the time. So, like, come on, Andy Fletcher, get the calls right. Or I don't remember the name. I think I might have just botched that. But whoever the home plate umpire was last night,
he needed to do better at it, I will say. Max, any other thoughts on ABS so far? So far, so good.
I think
like
it's been great. Yeah, I think it's been fantastic. It's added a level of drama. I mean, when you see the fans like anticipate, and they get it done pretty quick, but the fans for like a couple seconds are like, what's it going to be? Is it going to be overturned or like sustained? And there's like this roar in the crowd if the call goes your way, that equals that of a home run. I mean, it's really cool. They get it done pretty quickly. There's going to be some problems, and I wonder if this really undermines umpires' authority in games.
Yeah,
you can kind of see how disgusted CB Buckner, who got like 6 calls overturned in a game, like you can see the disgust on his face.
Did you see his call at first base last night?
Yeah, he's not covering himself in glory at all this year.
No.
I mean, he would be in trouble without the ABS right now.
Yeah.
Only one man can save Buckner right now. That's Angel Hernandez. Bring him back. Let's get him in here and see how bad he does.
I feel like he was
so
sent...
everyone who sorry, go ahead, Max.
No, I feel like he was sent like to get rid of the umpires altogether, like to prove that we don't need them at all.
I mean, so far.
Just to let everyone know who didn't see the stuff from last night, CB Buckner ruled that a runner missed first base during a bang play at first base while staring. He wasn't even looking at first base.
It wasn't a bang play. He overthrew first base.
Yeah,
and it's just one of those things where, like,
watching the ball in foul territory and ruled that the runner didn't step on first base. He wasn't even looking.
Right.
So dumb. So dumb. Hey, we do have one more thing that I want to touch on before we get on to Royals review.
What would you do if your online store converted 36% more shoppers? You could take 36% more vacation.
Another pina colada? Yes, please.
Open a new retail location with 36% more square feet.
Fantastic.
Hire 36% more help.
You're hired and you're hired.
Shopify has the world's best converting checkout, up to 36% better than other e-commerce platforms. What you do with those extra sales is up to you. Switch to Shopify today at shopify.com/listen and get a $1 trial. Shopify.com/listen.
Reviews, but we're going to take our last break of the episode. So come on back for some prospect stuff and our reviews. Stay tuned. All right. And we're back here on the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. So guys, I did have one other question from the feed. This is from Jersey Jayhawk 23. No idea who they are, unfortunately. But their question was, which prospect will rise the most this year? Now, Jeremy, I know you're not known as a prospect hound. I think I don't know what the opposite of a prospect hound is, but that might be you.
Prospect lazy cat.
The prospect lazy cat.
Prospect Garfield.
There we go. I like that.
I think this is an easy answer, though.
Okay. Who?
Turio.
Yeah, you think it's going to rise even more?
Oh, yeah. I think that the velocity and the control are going to continue to play. He's going to continue to pitch against higher level competition, and he's already making some top 100 lists. He's going to keep shooting up. That rocket's going to the moon, as the youths would have said 5 years ago.
Multiple outlets have made a solid case for him to not just be the top prospect in the Royals system by the end of this season, but the top pitching prospect in baseball if his trajectory continues, which is just crazy to think of. Max, after, we got some glimpses of some guys this spring. I'm sure you've been tracking some guys from 2025 heading into 2026. Is there anyone that comes to mind?
Yeah, so number one, I not this isn't like a top prospects, but like Dennis Colleran Jr. has been like, there's been a lot of buzz about him because of his 100-mile-per-hour fastball in camp, and I think he's a guy that, he's not gonna make a prospect list, but I think he could be a contributor pretty quickly, just because his fastball. He can blow guys away. A guy I think could make some moves this year is Ramon Ramirez, the catcher, who interestingly is at High A Quad Cities with Blake Mitchell, and they're both catchers. Uh, my understanding is that Ramirez is not great defensively, so I wonder if he's going to spend some time at first or DH, or maybe Mitchell's really athletic and they're like, well, let's get him some reps in the outfield because we've got Carter Jensen at the major league level, and let's show off some of his flexibility and see if he can handle the outfield position. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle those two guys. But I think Mitchell can be a big riser this well too if his wrist is healthy. He's still making some top 100 prospect lists, even though last year was kind of a wash.
Yeah.
So if he can kind of, and his plate discipline looks great. So if he can show any kind of power, I think he's going to start popping on some top 100 lists too. But I'm really curious to see how they handle those two guys at Quad Cities this year.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I'm going to go not too far off radar myself with my pick, but Steven Zobak got a lot of recognition joining the 40-man roster, but the Royals have another guy that they drafted in 2025 who I think fits a similar mold as Zobak, but might have a higher floor and ceiling, and that's Michael Lombardi. He's with Columbia right now to start off the season. Just a plus fastball, a plus and then some curveball. Like he's very athletic, very new to the mound, I would say. He played all over the field for Tulane. And I think that if he comes into Columbia and, Zobak came in, was learning how to pitched out of the bullpen, then joined the rotation and just lit the world on fire, I think Lombardi can do that as well in 2025. He's still, I think, firmly a top 30 prospect from any outlet that you look at. But if things go to plan, he might be rising into the top 10 once the 2026 season is over. If you have any thoughts, make sure you reply to my post on the feed. Would love to talk about it with y'all out there. All right, guys, is there anything else on the Royals front before we get to reviews?
I don't have anything on the Royals front, but I did want to really quick address Connor Griffin getting the call up in Pittsburgh tomorrow or today as you're potentially listening to this. I just want to highlight that he's been in the minors for less than a week, and he's how much better is he supposed to be after less than a week? But he's reportedly signing an extension that's going to guarantee money, lock him in so that he can't get too much in arbitration, maybe buy out some free agency years. Are we still playing this game where we act like the Pirates ever demoted him for his lack of ability, or were they doing it to continue to express their leverage over him to get him to sign a contract that was friendly to the team? And I think that there's room for teams and young players to strike these kinds of deals. Some they don't always work out for the teams, but to pretend that this is pure gravy for these players is a little bit disingenuous, I think, even though, like Eloy Jimenez stands as a case where that didn't really work out. And honestly, same for Yohan Moncada, but maybe that's just the White Sox. Everybody else seems to be just fine with these deals.
Yeah, that it does. That it does. I think the reality is everyone saw him go down to AAA to start off the season. And I don't think anyone was fooled. I think that the Pirates have such a long track record of doing this. They did this with Paul Skeens. They did this with holding Bubba Chandler down in the minors for so long. It's a little bit of that contract manipulation stuff, how they can do it. And, you know, unfortunately, I think this is one of those parts of building a team that I don't think is absolutely right, but it's allowed by the rules right now. And I think the Pirates are going to take advantage of it. Max, do you have any thoughts on this?
No, I mean, at least it's better than it was. I mean, a couple years ago, he would have come up 2 weeks later, and it would have cost him a whole year of free agency. I mean, I know that they, you know, I think this is part of the negotiations on a long term deal to call him up at this point. But it is, they fixed the system a little bit. I think this will be addressed again in the collective bargaining agreement coming up at the end of the year. But it's exciting for Pirates fans. I mean, I picked them to win the division this year. I think I was the only one in our
Ooh.
on our staff to pick the Pirates because Skeens and Chandler and Connor Griffin, and if they can get O'Neal Cruz to maybe DH or something and not play
Well,
outfield.
he's been swinging and missing a lot too, even for
Yeah.
him.
But they've
Yeah.
got some good young hitters that I think are going to contribute, and the pitching staff looks amazing. So I think they're pretty spicy this year in Pittsburgh.
I
So
thought
definitely
I was aggressive picking them as a wild card team. You're over here picking them to win the division.
I'd be a little contrarian too. So
All right, folks. Well, that is going to take us to today's Royals Review reviews. Max, since you are our guest, would you please get us started?
sure. Well, I never picked stuff contemporary. I will say I did catch the first 2 episodes of DTF St. Louis, which was funny and dark and really interesting. Also, they're at a Cardinals game that is clearly not a Cardinals game because there are no bleachers at Busch Stadium. But that was pretty interesting. But what my review is going to be something really old. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Stephen King. But he's a very prolific writer, and I've never read any of his stuff. I've enjoyed movies based on his work, but I decided I would read his stuff because I've gotten so many recommendations like, oh yeah, you should read Stephen King. And I read, so I picked up his Different Seasons, which is a collection of 4 novellas he wrote. 3 of the 4 have been turned into very popular movies, or at least 2 of them have been turned into popular movies. So Shawshank Redemption, which many of you have heard of, Apt Pupil, which is probably the lesser known 90s thriller starring Ian McKellen, and then one of the stories was turned into Stand By Me, which is kind of autobiographical by Stephen King. And then there's a 4th story that's a little more macabre, I guess, more what you're used to out of Stephen King. But anyway, he's a tremendous writer. These aren't horror stories, other than maybe the last one, The Breathing Method. But they're completely different stories about completely different situations, and really just show off what a tremendously talented writer he is. He's able to paint a story and just go on to great description, and provide real characters that are flesh and blood, 3-dimensional, that you can actually see living in these worlds. So if you haven't he's got a billion books out there. So if you haven't picked up Stephen King in a while, I'd recommend picking up Different Seasons, a collection of 4 novellas.
Love that. Love that. Jeremy, do you mind if I go next?
No, go for it.
All right. I just finished up a audiobook. I'll for all those folks out there who don't think listening to books is reading, well, it's the best I can do while I'm working, okay? I just finished up the Kaiju Preservation Society by John Scalzi. I listened
I
to the
need to read
version
that.
narrate. What'd you say?
It's on my list. I haven't gotten to it yet.
Well, man, I just listened to the audiobook narrated by Will Wheaton, and he just brings so much life to it. I really enjoyed the story. And I say this as like someone who I primarily read nonfiction. I read a lot of history, a lot of social studies sort of things. This was but I love kaiju. Like I love, Pacific Rim for how bad it was. I love a lot of kaiju centric manga. What this story is, it's set during the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's this, doctorate or like postdoctorate guy just struggling to make ends meet, and he gets swept up into this mysterious job whose job it is to go to this alternate Earth and take care of these kaiju. And the world building it's simple, like it's believable, or believable as it can be, I would say. I really enjoyed it. I can't recommend it highly enough. Should it win a Pulitzer? No, but it's a very good story and a very good book, I would say. Jeremy, over to you.
Man,
Well,
John
just real quick,
Scalzi is-
I read that a couple years ago. It was recommended to me from Matthew Lamar on our site. He
Oh.
recommended it, and it was a very enjoyable read. I agree.
Yeah.
John Scalzi is my second favorite author, so I need to. Brandon Sanderson writes so much, and he's my favorite, so it's hard for me to even get to my second favorite. But I guess Brandon's working on TV shows right now, so maybe I can finally catch up on some Scalzi stuff. I real quick want to say that I've only read one Stephen King novel. It was The Running Man, which is a very weird Stephen King novel in that he wrote it under a pen name. Because it was so different from his usual stuff. And then I also want to say thank you to Max, because I just finished while I was driving home for Easter today. I just finished that black box book you recommended a few episodes ago, which was contemporary. By the way, Max, you do recommend some contemporary stuff. I'm starting to worry about this Black Box of Doom. Terrific book. I second your recommendation. But the review I want to give today is From Prose to Pixels by Nadia Oxford, who is also the co-host of the Blood Dragon podcast, which is an RPG podcast. In it, she writes about her kind of how she went from playing video games to becoming a writer. And there's all kinds of really cool stories and a lot of really cool thoughts about writing in there. It was just super enjoyable. I felt like I was learning and also laughing my butt off the entire time, which is not an easy combination to pull off, and she does it. And I was fortunate enough to get to read an advanced copy of the book, and it is published. It's out now, so I hope everyone will support her and go read that book. It's really I even if you don't care about video games, I think you can get a lot out of it, especially if you're someone who wants to write. So I hope you'll all read it.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jeremy. Do appreciate it. Alrighty, folks. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of the Royals Rundown podcast. We appreciate you sticking around with us. If you have anything you want us to talk about, you can drop us a line. If you have any thoughts about the podcast, you can share them on royalsreview.com, where we post the episode. We talk in the feed, we talk in the rumblings, almost as much as I can, at least. I will do it. And yeah, we just enjoy talking with you guys. Believe it or not, we really do.
The whole reason we do this, because we could just talk to each other.
We could,
but we like talking to y'all too.
And we like talking to Max
I've been
too.
thinking a lot about social media lately and how different people use it, and I think I'm using it wrong. But what I want to do is have conversations with people, and I don't feel like that's what social media is really actually designed for. But so yeah, hit me up on especially Blue Sky's the easiest way to get a hold of me. I try to be on Royals Review, but I'm not always there. So yeah, I get
There you
notifications if you hit me up on Blue Sky.
Max, can folks drop you a line on Royals Review there? Maybe put something in the feed, huh? Feed the feed.
Feed the feed. Yeah, look for me on Royals Review. I am back on X, although I'm not very super active, but you can always hit me up there as well at Max Rieper.
See, I'm not too active on X because, whenever I load it up, I'm seeing some nonsense. Like right now, MLB just posted that the Rangers have revealed a wearable Nacho Rally sombrero. I kid you not, this is the day after April Fool's, but this looks like it should be an April Fool's joke. Jeremy, I'm sending you the image of this because this is just too incredible. Oh, you've seen it?
Did you see the crab fries ferry that Seattle's doing?
Yes, I did.
It's a good year for ballpark food, baby.
Oh, man.
And the Royals still have the brisket nachos, the helmet brisket nachos. So
That they do. It is.
Ballpark food is just the best. I love it.
We've come a long way from beer and hot dogs.
By best, I mean fun to look at. It's not always good to eat.
No, not at all.
As I learned when I tried to get that burgerizza at Turner Field a few years ago.
Ooh, yeah.
It could have been good, but they used frozen pizza crust. It's supposed to be 2 pizzas and a giant burger in between it, and the bottom pizza was just a DiGiorno crust. And it was not even a good DiGiorno crust, and it wasn't baked. It was awful.
Jeez, that does sound pretty terrible. But hey, again, Max, thanks for joining us on today's episode. Always glad to have you on, and thank you for your leadership over at the website.
Anytime. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, we're going to get on out of here. Make sure you never miss another episode from us by following and subscribing. But until next time, I'm Jacob Milham. They're Jeremy Greco. Thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, go Royals.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.